Proud supporters of Africa this week. Engen, with us, you are number one.
Hello and welcome to this edition of Africa This Week, your wrap of what happened across the continent. I'm Mashudu Masuta. In this half of the program, we look at productivity in South Africa, attempts to force companies to list in Nigeria, and regional integration in West Africa. Government, private sector and industry met in Cape Town this week to discuss where South Africa fits in the current global economy and what needs to be done to generate employment opportunities. In October, South Africa's labour productivity fell to its lowest level in 40 years and is a serious concern. CNBC Africa's Ashley Harvey speaks to the Minister, Rob Davies.
The issue that we are facing is there's an impact of external shocks on the South African economy. At the moment, we're being battered by the onset of the next wave of the global economic crisis. And I believe that one of the problems that we're facing is that a number of manufacturing firms are realizing they know what they need to do to raise productivity, to raise competitiveness, but that needs investment, and that they don't quite have the confidence to invest. And I think that's been one of the issues that we've identified. And it's part of the programs which the Minister of Finance announced in the medium-term budget policy statement, a series of additional support mechanisms for manufacturing, particularly to invest. And I think the model that we're working on is the model which which is the incentive program which we've launched in the clothing and textile industry. Because actually, when a number of other manufacturing sectors went into decline in July, August, we found that the clothing and textile industry was not one of them. It was continued to expand, albeit rather modestly. And employment, in fact, grew in companies that had been making investments. And the incentive we had in place was that you earned a credit based on value added. You were able to redeem that, but only against productivity raising and competitiveness raising investments. And so only a few companies have so far accessed that scheme, but those that have shown very promising results. And I think this is what we think is one of the ways that we need to address that particular challenge.
Now, do you still think that we'll reach the growth necessary to get those 5 million jobs by 2020?
Well, I think the new growth path is saying that we need to do two things. We need to raise the growth rate, the economic growth rate, so GDP per capita growth rate, but we also need to raise the labour absorbing content of growth. So we need to get more jobs per investment. We need to move into much more labour absorbing activities. So I think that growth rates per se are certainly going to take a hit from the global crisis. On the best case scenario, our biggest trading partner, the European Union, is going to go into a long period of constrained growth. On a worst case scenario, some parts of it at least are going to go into recession. And I think that's going to have an impact on us. It's going to mean we need to diversify. It's also going to mean that we need to rely on increasing the labour absorption capacity of our economic activities, and I think that's what the new growth path is all about.
Now, there's a lot of question on nationalisation, if it is still going to happen. Where do we stand right now?
Well, this is a debate that's taking place within the ruling party. It's not a policy of government. That point has been made repeatedly that it's not a policy of government. There's also a constitutional framework that would have to operate if any decision was taken in that direction. It's a debate, and I think that debate is not at this point in time having any impact on government policy.
Nigeria's upper houses of parliament are working on two parallel tracks which will result in the presentation of a bill to compel large commercial entities such as telecoms and oil firms to list their shares on the Nigerian Stock Exchange.
I would like to see, like Parliament, maybe like the CBN governor, I would like to see large telecoms companies, large FMCGs, the upstream oil companies listed on the Nigerian Stock Exchange. What I don't think we should embark on is forcing these people to list. I think the psychology behind the forced listings is a wrong one. Investment is a contest in which funds decide based on the attractiveness of the market, the transparency of your capital market, the business environment, the investment climate in the country, which country to go. We can compel those who are already here, but we can't compel those who are still thinking about investment. I think it's an error, just like indigenization in the 70s was an error. I think it freezes the inflow of capital to this economy, and that's what it would do. And it provides perverse incentives. So some elites who would like to be shareholders of MTN will lobby Parliament to make a law so that they get on the board of MTN. But does it change the structure of the economy? Does it ensure that you do the right things to make investments come into the economy, to improve investment climates? I don't think so. So the element of force, compulsion, is something I strongly disagree with.
Well, obviously, indigenization has been a touchy subject, and of course, the laws have been changed in Nigeria. That's no longer the issue. People can bring in capital freely and own 100% of companies today. But
well, when you say forced listing, then you can't own 100%.
That's true, indeed.
And so the same psychology behind indigenization is at play. It's a different method, but I think it's the same psychology. And it's that psychology
but some will argue that if you look at the development of Nigeria's stock market today, even though, yes, indigenization may have had some issues, as a result of that, we've seen companies, like I mentioned earlier, Unilever, Nigerian Breweries, Nestle, all get listed on the stock exchange, and then it obviously depends.
But we've also had many more companies that listed voluntarily. We had all the banks list voluntarily, even before the capital requirements required them to. We had GTB go to the market voluntarily. So the point is this: create the right conditions. Why must we think that it's only by compelling people? Build a credible stock exchange, build a good investment climate, do the right things in terms of policy, and investors will come. Now, if we want, and I don't say that we should not encourage, if we think, and I clearly, like I said at the beginning, I think it's desirable, but if we want to encourage foreign entities in the country, I think we should go the way of incentives, of benefits, of encouragement, of moral suasion, of doing engagement with those people rather than a compulsion, which can have the negative effect of deterring further investment in that economy.
Let's talk a bit about those possible negative effects. We know, for instance, in markets like Tanzania, this is a policy that was put forward, and obviously many of the telcos in Tanzania are fighting that bill. In Ghana, it's something that they're already thinking about. But what signal do you think this is sending right now? Obviously, these headlines are going around the world today.
Exactly, and that's my concern. If you were thinking in New York or in Joburg or in London about investment in Nigeria 2 years down the line, and you suddenly saw on CNN or CNBC Nigeria to compel listings, to forced listings, and then you read the arguments of people that these people are making money in this economy, they're doing well, they must share the thing. I think that many investors will suspend their plans. So for me, like I said, you can only compel those who are already in the country. You can't compel those who are thinking about it. And that's the larger pool of capital that we should be talking to, rather than the limited ones that are already here. Yes, I want them to list. I believe the benefits are obvious: deepening our capital market, spreading the base of share ownership. But I think we can get them to do these things through persuasion and incentives rather than compulsion.
West Africa has long cherished the ideal of greater economic integration. This would include the establishment of a free trade area, new regional infrastructure, peace and stability. We spoke to Dr. Jonathan Ameru, regional consultant for ECOWAS, the economic community of West African states, a regional group of 16 countries.
ECOWAS is that of a regional economic integration. In other words, the geographical contiguity of member states was one of the major things that ECOWAS founding fathers thought was very important. And then economically integrating the community in terms of policies to converge so that we can have one economic space. Yes, a lot might have not happened, but a lot is currently happened. with ECOWAS transiting to a commission from ECOWAS Secretariat in year 2000, quite a lot of initiatives were already on the ground. Even before then, ECOWAS has continued to follow the processes of the regional integration from the loosest to the most deepest type of economic integration, right, which is starting from the free trade area to custom union, to common market, and finally to economic union. Right now, at the free trade area, the ECOWAS trade liberalization project is on, and goods are moving across the border freely. And with little impediment, yes, but we are overcoming them in ECOWAS country. Then the second stage, which is the custom union, is a situation in which we have a single kind of common external tariff in 5 bands, similar in all the 15 countries of ECOWAS. Right. So that when you are exporting to ECOWAS country, the import duty facing the commodity is the same in all the 15 countries. Right now, that is our final state. ECOWAS is equally going ahead with a common investment market in which we are going to have a sort of issue like a regional payment system. We are going to have a credit bureau. We are going to have a regional stock exchange. Okay. Quite a lot of other initiatives are going on in ECOWAS Commission.
All right,
so in very few times to come, you are going to see a lot of changes.
Okay, so it sounds like there is quite a bit of impetus. Let's talk about how you deal with issues of infrastructure, because that is the big problem here, is you've got port facilities in Cote d'Ivoire, for instance, in Nigeria, but you just don't have synergy. You talk of gas pipelines in what is a very lucrative oil economy across the regions, but those projects have stalled for the longest time. So what's happening on the infrastructure front?
I agree with you that quite a lot of the countries, including Nigeria, have poor infrastructure in terms of energy. Even ports is not actually very good. It's not up to the standard or the volume of the traffic of goods that are coming in. But let me give you one assurance. ECOWAS is already aware of it. There's a whole Department of Infrastructure, and they are looking at these kind of issues on a daily basis and trying to put up a wonderful way of ensuring that all these infrastructure deficiencies are tackled in all the countries of the region. We are aware of the fact that without efficient infrastructure, trade facilitation among members, even outside the member state, coming to the region can be a very serious problem. But ECOWAS Commission is not resting. We are very much aware of that, and a lot is being done at ECOWAS Commission to address all those infrastructure deficiencies. There's a power pool going on, there is a pipeline, gas pipeline going on, there is quite a lot of linkage roads that are going on. ECOWAS is putting substantial amount of money to ensure that the region is economically integrated by ensuring that all the deficiencies in the infrastructure are resolved.
After the break, more stories making headlines this week.